Hey, this is Johnny with Johnny's BMW DIYs. Today I'm working on a 1992 BMW 850i, changing out the brake booster, which is hydraulic on this car. So it started leaking. It uses pentosin, which goes in this reservoir. It started leaking, and the brakes started feeling kind of hard to push, like I don't have power brakes. So if any of you guys that own these vehicles start seeing, sorry, it's not too much light getting down in there, fix that. If you start seeing a bunch of crud down there dripping on your driveway and your brake fluid reservoir is not low, it's because your brake booster is leaking. And I bought a little seal kit right here, and what's going on is basically, hopefully there's enough light to see up in there. There we go. See that seal in there? It starts leaking. So what I'm going to do, take out that set pin. I guess it's kind of, I believe it's spring loaded in there, so be careful if you're doing this. And I'm going to get in there and replace some seals. Okay, so I used a pair of vice grips to get this to pop loose. Now I'm going to pull that set pin out and take the inner stuff out. Okay, so here's the deal. Once you take that pin out, this piece right here has to be gently pried out. However, this big spring is right behind it, and there's a lot of fluid still in there, so it's gonna make a mess. It's shot out over here, trying to clean all that up, and a bunch of fluid down there. The cap ended up down there, and the spring ended up underneath the car. So just make sure you're able to find them, and try not to lose any of the parts. Now I'm going to trade out this. Okay, in order to get this out, I dug that seal out, took this little saw here apart, got this in there, and I cut right through it. Carefully not to cut through the plastic, got a little nick in it, but it'll be all right. Now I'm working on, I've got it to where it's loose, and I'm going to push it on out of there so I can put the new seal in it. Okay, so I got this old seal out. Got to clean out the inside of that. It's a little dirty in there. I'm going to clean everything, and make way for this new seal. Of course, there's another seal. Goes right around this edge. It's right here. I got my new one there. And then this washer goes over top of it right here. So I'm going to clean up all my master cylinder and the reservoir and all that, and get everything ready for install. So this thing doesn't fit perfect. So it's because there's a little curved edge there. So I'm going to take a Dremel and this little tool, I'm going to grind it away so I can get it to fit. Now I have it ground down enough that I got it started by hand. So I'm going to clean it up a little bit, and then I'm going to finish pressing it in all the way. Alright, so the new seal is pressed down in there. Made sure from the inside that it was all the way up against the seat. I have a new O-ring. It's just going to drop on top right there. Hard to get it on there with one hand. Okay, that's on there. And this guy goes right on top of it, like so. So now you got your new gaskets. What you have to do, make sure that little piece down in there, that collar, is still in there. This is magnetic. It sits in that little spot. You see the collar down in there. Kind of hard to see. There you go. So I'm going to put it on my press and compress the spring so I can put this set screw back in, and the unit will be reassembled. I'm going to put a little bit of, just a tiny bit of lube in there, maybe some of the pentosin, so everything moves all right. This is my setup. I just have an old bushing that I put on top of it because I don't want to mess up the plastic. It's a little crooked, but I'm going to guide it in as I go down with my press. If you don't have a press, you're going to have to rig something up. Seen some people drill into a piece of sheet metal, strong metal, then run the bolts through it to draw it in. Either way, I'm going to have to get it seated down in there, and then get the set screw in there to hold the whole assembly in place. And then I'll put the rod down in there and reinstall. Okay, I have the seals back in and the whole housing for it. Put a little WD-40 on the end of this rod, and you just get it in there until you feel the little magnet in there. Grab hold of it. You know it's in place at that point. Now all I got to do is put the power steering master cylinder back onto this one. Make sure you use Loctite, as they had Loctite on them when they came. I have everything bolted back together. Don't forget to put your bracket back on like I did. So don't worry if there's a little space here. The spring tension, the set bolt has a little bit of room, so there's a little more room for spring tension. So when these tighten up, it's going to suck it in just that extra little bit. So don't worry about that as you're tightening it. It will not break it. So I've got a bunch of cleanup to do in the engine bay before I install this, because there is fluid everywhere. Okay, so I've got the unit bolted back in underneath the dash, and so now the main thing is to get these lines started, and you want to start them by hand. Obviously you don't want to cross thread them. You're going to get all the lines tightened up and start plugging stuff back in. Cut the first two in. Back one was a 17, front one's a 19. Found more success kind of turning it from the top with the wrench on it from the top and twisting due to the area where that one was in, and the tension that the metal hose has on it made it a little difficult to do from underneath, or do by hand. Cut the side lines on there. They are 11 millimeters.